It has happened again. Another mass shooting in America. This time just south of the White House and the Capitol, at our country's oldest naval facility, the Washington Navy Yard, where today's rampage has claimed more than a dozen lives, including this man, Aaron Alexis, the shooter identified by police late today. Why he opened fire early this morning is still a mystery. The lives lost, a tragedy. How so many survived, a blessing. Our team is out in force with all those stories tonight, and we start with ABC's senior national correspondent Jim Avila on the moment of crisis.
A shooting free-for-all that began even before the suspect, wearing black with a tall military bearing, marched his way into the Navy Yard.
Multiple shots fired, multiple people down.
At that moment, we all realized this is the real deal, this is serious. Let's go, move. Everyone said, this is no drill. Go, go, go. Emergency exits now. Go, go, go.
D.C. Metro Police say they get their first call of multiple victims down at 8:20 in the morning. By then, a security guard on the first floor of Building 197 of this massive complex is hit. And the gunman is on the upper floors, shooting down from atrium walkways over the open core of the 5-story building into a food courtyard below.
We have an active shooter on the 4th floor.
The shots were randomly aimed and fortunately not always on target.
The first 3 shots were done pow, pow, pow. A few seconds later, maybe 3 seconds later, was pow, 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 like 4 more shots.
By 9:33, the first ambulances rushed victims to hospitals.
We have an officer down, Building 197 on the 3rd floor.
This ambulance, with a police escort, carried a D.C. patrolman who shot it out with the gunman. At 9:45, the FAA stops all flights in and out of nearby Reagan National Airport. And back in the building, EMTs struggled to safely remove the injured.
At least 5 people shot. They were attempting to bring outside.
Only later would police realize the death toll was much higher. A dozen innocents in all. One of the victims standing shoulder to shoulder with Navy Commander Tim Gyrus.
I saw him drop in front of me. He was shot in the head.
Finally, at 12:14, police announced they have fatally shot the gunman, identified by the FBI as Aaron Alexis, a former Navy man who most recently worked for the Navy as an IT civilian contractor. Police cordoned off a wide area around the shooting scene for hours. The Capitol building was shut down for a while, and the Nationals called off their night Major League Baseball game, as rumors and reports swirled of multiple gunmen.
The big concern for us right now is that we potentially have 2 other shooters that we have not located at this point.
The Navy Yard staying on lockdown for more than 6 hours. Survivors told to hide in place, some barricading themselves in top-secret, secure closets, others under their desks.
We put chairs and then tables up against the door.
Navy Captain Mark Vandroff was one of those evacuated from his office.
We heard gunfire and we looked up and there were 2 bullet holes in the top of the wall of the conference room.
Tonight, police are beginning to say that they're beginning to understand the how of what happened here, but not the why. No clues as to the motive and no evidence that this was terrorism. George?
Thanks, Jim. Let's get more now from 2 eyewitnesses on the scene, Terry Durham and Todd Brundage. Thank you both for joining us on what I know has been a very harrowing day. And Terry, let me begin with you. You're on the 3rd floor, Building 197, trying to help some colleagues get through the exit. What do you see next?
When we heard the alarm, we didn't all know what was happening, so we were just trying to get people to move into the stairwell and get them out of the building. When we saw one of the gunmen, at least the one that was on the 3rd floor, was down the hallway. He appeared to be a tall man, looked like he might have been in a dark blue Navy uniform. He had a rifle, some kind of weapon with him. And as we were standing there trying to get our colleagues through the passageway, he pointed the gun at us and shot.
Todd, he shot right at you?
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
Sorry.
It was, as we were going out the door, it was, we heard the shots being fired, and we realized that, the gunman was really close, and 2 or 3 seconds later, he did come around the corner, and he pointed his gun right at us and fired 2 or 3 shots.
And Terry, was he aiming directly at individual people or just firing randomly?
When we saw him, he raised the gun and aimed right at us, at a group of us that were standing there trying to wait until we could get through the doorway.
And was he saying anything?
He did not say a word. Like I said, we heard the shots, and he came around the corner and immediately turned to us and started shooting.
How quickly was he firing?
Oh, very quickly. He was firing off rounds every at least 3 or 4 seconds.
Finally, I just ask you both, what do you take away from what has got to be one of the most difficult days of your life?
Thankful to be alive. He was far enough away that when he shot at us, he did not hit us, and many others were not as lucky.
You really have to appreciate life and take every day as it comes. You never think it's going to happen to you. You see it all the time on the news, and all of a sudden you go to work on a Monday morning and it happens.
Well, we're thankful you're okay today, and thank you for your time. Todd Brundage, Terry Dermott, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now to the investigation. ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has been tracking the fast-moving developments. And Pierre, we are learning more about the gunman.
We are learning more, George. Tonight, a sweeping international investigation is underway to determine exactly why this suspect snapped. Tonight, the FBI is urgently seeking the public's help to find out more about the man they believe is responsible for a massacre, identified as Aaron Alexis.
No piece of information is too small. We are looking to learn everything we can about his recent movements, his contacts, and his associates. And we ask anyone with information about him to contact us at 1-800-CALL-FBI.
Military records show Alexis was in the Navy from May 2007 to January 2011, serving at the Naval Air Station in Fort Worth, Texas. According to a 2004 Seattle police report, Alexis shot the tires of a car in an anger-fueled rage. Alexis's father told police he had been present as an active participant in rescue attempts of September 11, 2001, and suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. Sources tell ABC News police are investigating whether he recently worked as a civilian contractor at the Washington Navy Yard. Photos of Alexis fit the description of eyewitnesses who described a cold-blooded killer until he was shot and killed by police. The suspect's friends were shocked.
Right now, I'm really crushed inside because it just wasn't the Aaron that I knew that would do this. We just never saw this in him.
Authorities continue to investigate whether a second suspect may have been involved. But sources tell ABC News the hard, tangible evidence points to only one shooter. Tonight, the FBI was in New York City interviewing the suspect's parents.
So, Pierre, no evidence of terrorism right now, but the FBI is asking the public to help them find out a lot more about this gunman.
That's right, George. Until they can dissect every aspect of the suspect's life, nothing is being ruled out. That's why they're so desperate for the public's help. It's an international investigation. They're tracking his movements. Did he go overseas? Exactly who was he in contact with in the final days?
Okay, Pierre Thomas, thanks very much. ABC's Martha Raddatz covers all things military for us. And Martha, you've been to this complex many times. It's a fairly secure facility.
Well, it's a secure facility, but not as high-level security as military bases where there's ships or other kinds of warfighting equipment. At the Navy Yard, employees have badges to gain entrance, but the vehicles are not searched. And if you're a visitor, you would have to have an escort of some kind and your name on a list.
And it's an office complex, basically, but a lot of senior officials work there.
Even though this is basically a huge office complex, the exception is that the home of the Chief of Naval Operations is there, Admiral Jonathan Greenert. He is one of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and he and his wife were evacuated right after the shooting. The majority of the other chiefs live at Joint Base Meyer in Arlington, Virginia, and that base does have vehicle checks for visitors. But at this point, George, we're not really certain how the suspect got into the Navy Yard.